with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11. Who you gonna call right now? 11 with Jenna. With Jenna. 11 with Jenna. Right now. 11 with Jenna. With Jenna. It's 11. Who you gonna call right now?
Hello. It is Saturday, January 15th. It is 11:11. My name is Jenna, and this is 11:11 with Jenna. I am here 7 days, 7 nights, 14 times a week, right here, right now on Facebook. And if you're watching it now, hello. And if you're not watching it now, thank you. And if you're watching it on YouTube, wow. Subscribe, become a fan, share the show, come be a guest. Just do it. Just be like, I want to be on 11:11 with Jenna. I want you to be on 11:11 with Jenna too. And then the calls come in. Hey, what's going on? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry about that. So I am going to. Whoa, Jason. I hope you weren't messing around on Lisa. I'm going to edit this privacy and make it public, and now that's done. And I'm going to just do a couple little, I always have to do this while I'm on the show. I can't do it later on, but wow, where did it go? Oh, there it is. This is this. So what's going on? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What did you do today? How's the weather? Corona Roki this Thursday night. Tomorrow morning. Really, I'm really excited about tomorrow. I would be excited if it were AJ, but AJ was cool enough to let go of his morning, and I invited my friend Leanne. I'm like, my dear friend, my friend Leanne, who is a nurse. She's been a nurse for 36 years, and she's a frontliner here at a hospital. And we're going to talk about COVID. We're going to talk about what she's been going through, what's happening there now, answer questions. 36 years, right? And I'm just going to put and, save. So now it's a lot of busy work you have to do. Let me just see who's here. William D, Julian Rob, what's going on? Hi Patty. Hey Mama Grace. What's up? What is the temperature where you guys are? What is it here? What is the temperature?
It's 14 degrees outside.
It's 14 degrees outside. 14. Yeah. Went for a lovely walk today. And hello, Canada. Hello, California. Hello, Illinois. Hello, Michigan. Hello, Mama Grace. And check it out now.
11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11.
16. 10 degrees in Kalamazoo. 16. 45 degrees? Really, in Canada? Wow. Yeah, it's colder in Kalamazoo than it is in Canada right now, in Edmonton. Wow. We might have to do a Morocco here pretty soon. We are missing that big storm. And I think I talked to someone in Philly, and missing the tsunami, so that's cool. Be careful, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Carl. Gary Lambert in the house. And that makes us coast to coast. 14. Insane Joe. What up? Hey there.
Let me make sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hold on. I'm making a few little adjustments here. I have to
No
mute you,
sound here.
muting you on the Facebook, so I'm only hearing you on the Zoom, and I'm making sure all my settings are right. I was a little late getting settled in because I was in the middle of other things, and then I said, it's almost 11.
Jenna and Gary Lambert.
Right. Now gotta adjust the light a little bit here.
I'm lower. I lowered my light a bit.
There we go. Oh yeah. I've got my, my hue lights on, on the overhead light fixture, so
Oh, so you can do that from your phone?
I can do it from my phone. Pretty cool.
What's it called?
It's Hue, which is HUE, Philips Hue, which are the controlling devices actually in the bulb, so you can put it in any light fixture in the house. And there are these really fancy Hue lights where you can change the colors to like any
They said
number.
like Siri, change my living room to orange. That
Exactly.
yeah, like, I have a friend
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
has that at his house.
That's pretty wild. And you can change your outside lighting so that it's all atmospheric and stuff. I have the pretty basic, just the white ones. But
So that light which you have in this
yeah,
room,
it's actually a 3 bulb fixture, and I can adjust each of the bulbs. So the one that's pointing at me is the less glary one, and the other ones are lighting the room.
and and
It's
speak to Siri and she does it, or do you do it
I
like
can do it manually. I think there are also voice commands, but it's and you can also, one of the great advantages is you go away and you program your lights to like go on at a certain time and go off at a certain time, or control them remotely from California or whatever. So you can, yeah, it's pretty groovy.
yeah, my friend has his whole house is like that in Seattle, and we talk on the phone on Zoom sometimes, and he'll go, "What's that color you like, John?" I'm like, that kind of aqua blue, and he goes,
Mhm.
"Change the kitchen to aqua blue," and the next thing
Yeah,
you know, it's all blue, and we
yeah.
got to do a little dance real quick.
11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11. I'm gonna call right now.
And we're back to 10.
All right. Well, hello everybody. Yeah, who's Patty? Hope you
No,
had a great birthday.
yeah, we had a surprise party for her
Fantastic. In person or Zoom?
on Zoom.
Wonderful.
She goes like this. I said, "Everybody come on," and everybody came on, and then she goes, "I gotta go get something really quick," and she turned away, and then everybody was on.
Oh,
And
that's great.
thank her. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
fun.
I had
The
not
early group.
was it my 2021 birthday or I think it was my 2020 birthday. That's how long ago this thing has been on. No, I think it was 2021. But anyway,
Yeah,
um,
your 21 birthday.
I
Oh no,
went for a walk.
it was your 2020, wasn't it?
Well, no, I don't think so because I think didn't the oh it might have been, yeah, because I could still get out and about.
You had a
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah,
2020
yeah.
birthday.
It was really cool because I decided to go for a walk on my birthday to my local park. And my brother and I were just going to do a FaceTime, and then there were like all these friends of mine from the Bay Area. So that was really pretty groovy. And I
You
said
were at my
groovy.
2020 birthday party.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it was 11 degrees or 12 degrees when I woke up this morning. Uh, and the irony is, I was saying, oh yeah, this 12 degrees here. It's like the kind of thing where Rob Morocco would say, 12 degrees, you wimps. He would have told me I should be out on my front terrace in a lounge chair, drinking frozen margaritas. And they would have been frozen even if they hadn't been to begin with. But now I hear it's like 40 degrees in
Yeah,
Alberta. So
call me.
the world has gone nuts. But anyway, uh, it's winter here. So ordinarily, I think, well, yeah, it's gonna be down in the teens. But to have that happen on a weekend when I expected to be on a beach, that's a little cruel. That's rubbing it in, I think. So
Have you talked to anyone who's down there? Who's in?
we actually had a couple of calls from Mexico on the radio show last Sunday. people seem to have a good time, and I heard there might have been a couple of people who tested positive down there and have to quarantine for a few extra days, but I think mostly it went very smoothly
I
and
kind
people
of
were
heard
happy.
they were workers or were they actually guests that?
Well, the people who got infected first that resulted in the event getting called off were workers.
Mhm.
That all happened on the day that people were flying in. Suddenly there was this burst of positive tests. So they isolated those people, and there were apparently it went as well as could be expected, I think. And now the second wave of people is there, and they would be going home, I think, either tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on which package they bought. But although they modified it, they said, since we're comping you to the hotel, if you can change your flight, you can go home. You can stay a shorter time. Good friend of mine decided to go down, and she had a great time for a few days, and then she flew home last Sunday. She was there for the first weekend. She flew home last Sunday just to be totally safe. Uh,
And what did they do? Did they like people just chilled around the pool and
you
went to
you know Deadheads. A friend of mine once called the Grateful Dead the ultimate make your own fun band. So the
yeah,
Deadheads were like Deadheads had instruments and they were
they were
having
all
little
playing
little Grateful Dead jam sessions and you know I
into the
understand
midnight.
I understand there's an ocean there, which is nice. And so I guess people were like both mingling and trying to stay safe and keep their distance, and there were tropical breezes blowing. It was well ventilated, so I hope everyone gets home as safely from this weekend. And you know, um, I'm bummed and I'm glad. That
Yeah.
it would have been gorgeous to be down there, but there will be other beaches.
Yeah, I was invited somewhere this week and I had to decline, and I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, um, I have some sad news to report about someone we never met, but who affected our lives profoundly. Um, One of the co-founders of Red Farm died.
oh, you're
Uh,
kidding.
Um, and there's a beautiful, I'll have to look up his name as we talk. Um, he was a really amazing guy. He was, Red Farm opened like 10 years ago or 11 years ago, 2010, um, almost 12 years ago. But this guy had this long history and a really great story. He was a Jewish kid who grew up in New York, which means he was going to have Chinese food all the time, because that's like it's part of the tribal ritual, But the thing about him, his name was Ed Schoenfeld, and the obit in the New York Times was just lovely. He was utterly beloved, and he was really influential in the Chinese food world in New York because like my generation, he was a few years older than me, but like our generation had that kind of Chinese food that wasn't really Chinese, stuff like egg foo young and chow mein and all that Americanized Chinese food. And, he loved that stuff growing up, as did I. But he developed this mission to bring real, all kinds of real regional Chinese cuisine to New York. And so he opened restaurants that had Hunan food and Szechuan food and
So Red
and
Farm wasn't his only restaurant.
no, this went back to the, I think, early 80s. I think he started opening restaurants and was responsible for some places that really became beloved. A couple of them I think are still open. Um, and then he also had this notion of taking the Chinese food we all grew up with and like elevating it. And Red Farm kind of did that, like things like the pastrami egg rolls, and he took familiar Chinese foods and put this new kind of fusion twist on them. So just seemed like a wonderful and brilliant and just a guy who loved his work. Uh, I'll put the link to the Times obit on in the
Wow.
chat here.
Standing
Um,
ovation. Wow.
yeah, so that was a strange bit of timing to find that out today. But What a man. What a great guy. And it sure made me hungry for Red Farm.
Well, for sure in May,
Yeah. I
because
sus I may make it back there before,
I have a feeling you will.
I
And
think I might.
I may, I may. Rolf, we have that gig on the 24th. So we may need to get together in April-ish. If Jazz Fest happens, I'll probably do that and
Right.
maybe go to New York before that. If I decide to go. I
Yeah.
completely 100% yet.
Yeah. I would love to. Don't know if it'll be practical for me, but I'm definitely going to, if Wilco's Festival happens in May up in,
Is that in North
no,
Carolina?
no, North Adams, Massachusetts, the Berkshires. So
What's the one
that's,
in North Carolina that happens? There's a big.
oh, there is one. Yeah. I forget what that one is called. Beach Life Festival or something like that. Anyway, whatever. Um, yeah, the headline of the New York Times is Ed Schoenfeld, impresario of Chinese cuisine, dies at 72.
Wow.
And yeah, and his restaurants. He even went back to the 70s. He must have been really young when he got started, in his 20s somewhere.
Huh.
Yeah, very cool. Anyway, so that's as I said, someone who had a great impact on our lives without us ever knowing him.
Thank you, Ed.
Yes,
So speaking
hosting.
of food, any epic meals this week? I made tacos the other day. They were the bomb.
Oh, I'll bet. This week I will be eating. I have eaten really well, and I will be eating well all week, multiple meals all week because we've talked about Goldbelly, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
service that like ships from restaurants all around the world, including Red Farm. Um, well, my gift from my nephew's family was a Goldbelly gift certificate, uh, and and it was actually signed from Lucian and Lakshmi, who are my grandniece and grandnephew and grandniece. Uh, I suspect they may have consulted with their parents, but their taste is pretty solid. So they could have made the decision all by themselves. So Lucian and Lakshmi sent me a generous gift certificate, and then I plunge into this amazing diversity of food they have, and I say, well, let's see. Do I
They
want
have specials too. I love it when when
yes,
something's
yeah,
on special and you can go, okay, well that's $90 and I can,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this was
Got
yeah.
it.
So and I was both considering the cuisine. I wanted the cuisine that was the least immediately accessible to me because I can get good barbecue in New York, but of course, getting barbecue from Texas or from Kansas City or from Memphis is a whole other thing. So barbecue was a contender. Um, there were a few places that I was looking at. What I decided on, I kind of surprised myself because there's this thing called Chicago deep dish pizza.
Yes, there is. It's right over
And
there.
right, and no one in New York will accept that this is pizza. They'll say that's a tasty casserole you got there.
Coffee. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like a big bowl of sausage, but it's really good. I mean, you just the word the P word is a little
Not
bit.
John's, but it's pizza.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It is its own thing, and they would have been smarter not calling it pizza in a way, so they wouldn't. But they like to welcome controversy in Chicago. Yeah,
Go ahead.
they're,
There are
oh,
a couple of Chicago people on here right now.
yeah,
Patty's.
yeah. I mean,
Hey now.
all cities have their little regional. They like to stick it to other cities and said you call that pizza. This is pizza. So anyway, so they have this package called A Taste of Chicago, in which you get three, I guess about 9 or 10 inch, small but substantial because they're thick, Lou Malnati
Oh,
pizzas.
wow.
Lou Malnati's is one of the very best. And you can choose. You can get any pizza they have. You can get like three of the same or mix and match. And the Taste of Chicago package also has an Eli's cheesecake.
Oh my goodness.
So that is good value for your money. So I got one cheese deep dish pizza, one spinach, which looks really good, and one pepperoni. And so last night I had half of
Oh,
the
It arrived.
It arrived yesterday.
Okay. So you got
So
pies from Chicago.
I got pies from Chicago and cake from Chicago.
Cake.
Pies and cake.
Right, cake.
Um,
What cake?
so I had half of the deep dish tomato and cheese pie last night, and then my late lunch, verging on dinner, was the second half. Had a couple of slices of cheesecake already, and this is going to yield, I think, at least like 6 meals. So that's a bargain.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, William.
So
I love pizza. So my question is, because it
yes,
all comes in gold belly wrap, right?
it's
Swag.
yeah. It's boxed up beautifully with dry ice.
So
It
how
arrives
do they
frozen.
do it? Do the people at Lou Malnati's
Yes.
have
Yeah.
boxes that are gold belly boxes? And
They actually, that all these businesses said this is a great idea. This is going to save our business, and especially in the pandemic, Gold Belly became just, not just a luxury
right.
item. They really, they benefited, and people benefited, and the restaurants benefited from it incredibly. So, I think the restaurants box it up on site, and they ship right from there. So it's, I think it's shipped within, like the same day they make the pie. So it arrives, flash frozen, and having eaten deep dish pies in Chicago, it really, I have to say, indistinguishable from eating it in the restaurant. It's just amazingly faithful to the way it's supposed to taste. So
There's a restaurant in South Bend, Indiana that once a month they'll do a lobster night or a crab
mhm,
night, and they'll do all the fixings, and for 2 people it's $50, and or
yeah,
an Italian night. But we make our little food here, but we might have to do a gold belly. I don't know what we'll pick, Grace. Maybe some
yeah,
red corn. That'd be
yeah. Well,
fun.
I got as I told you, I got gold belly lobster for Christmas. So it's been a good roll.
Lobster roll.
It was a
What a,
lobster roll.
what a great gift.
It really is.
That's a good
And
gift.
I've also sent, I've sent gold belly packages. My nephew, for his birthday, and enough to share with his family, got a DeFara's pizza from Brooklyn. So it's kind of like, cultural exchange between great civilizations.
Can you put the link in here also for Gold Belly?
Sure. It's just goldbelly.com.
Goldbelly.com.
Yeah, hold on.
Maybe we could all Gold Belly sometime and have some food together on the show.
That would be great.
It'd be fun.
I'd enjoy that. We could do Red Farm.
We could do Red Farm, you guys.
Yeah. They don't have, I think rather than the full Red Farm menu, they have like easily shippable items like dumplings. They have a lot of Red Farm dumplings, and you could look it up right now. But yeah, it's I was very tempted by some of the Texas barbecue deals that were offering. There's,
Is there an Austin, Texas barbecue?
there's Austin, Texas. There's some good Houston barbecue. Well, the most coveted barbecue in all of Texas is Franklin's in Austin, and
No, there's another one in Austin. It's out on the outskirts of Austin.
well, there's a lot of them in Austin, I know,
But it's
and
the
just
famous one,
outside.
and they have it at the airport too. There's Franklin,
Okay,
and then there's another one that
yeah.
Marshall, Jason, and I went once. Oh my
Oh,
God.
cool. Oh, cool.
Marshall Lamb, Jason Elaine, and Jenna Mammina in Austin together for
Oh.
4 days.
Yeah, the thing about Franklin's is the place where people famously line up at like 5 a.m. for them to open, because they serve there, no reservations, just wait in line, and they only serve until they run out of meat. So it's like a total crapshoot. You can stand there for 5 hours and not get served on a particularly busy day. But
No barbecue.
Franklin
Oh yeah,
Franklin
Franklin's.
Franklin sells like whole briskets. They're often sold out. But, there was a couple of days ago when they had some whole briskets, but that was a little out of my price range.
What is that one called? I had
I don't think I don't know if there's another Austin place, but there's a couple from like what's one of the other big Texas, that Lockhart, Texas is a big art, which I think is pretty close to Austin.
I almost want
Excuse
to.
me, I'm just getting the tea bag out of my tea. It's been steeping all this time.
I almost want to text Marshall right now, but I'm not going to.
Okay, I've actually been in touch with Marshall this week
Oh yeah.
because he's actually the publicist for this new film, which I hear is wonderful. It's a film about homelessness in San Francisco,
Hmm.
and this sociologist, I think he's a sociologist, actually went around San Francisco talking to homeless people about their experience, and
Hmm.
came up with this beautiful film. And Bobby Weir did some of the music for it. So we're going to talk about the film on the show tomorrow. So
And
I've been
and then-
emailing and texting with Marshall this week.
yeah, my
Yeah,
buddy. And I
yeah.
talked to Jason this week, so
All right,
there it's
cool.
gonna. Yeah.
All
What have
right,
you been watching? Anything fun?
my tea has now steeped, and look, the
The
nose guy.
nose, and the nose matches your hat.
It does, but
Did you plan that?
I did not. I'm not that.
Can you do the nose up to the? I'll do the free, and I have my Frida. The
Mhm,
nose with the hat, pretty close.
mhm. You know, the nose looks a little like Diego Rivera. Now that I think about it. Hi, Frida.
They are together
Let's kiss.
as she runs away.
That's right. Yeah, that would be more likely.
Runs the other way.
Yes, I have a new old TV obsession, to show that I can't believe I didn't catch up with until now. That just completed its run in 5 seasons, and I just started watching it, and now I'm deep into it. Search Party. You know Search Party?
Grace, put it on the list. Where is it? What's it on?
It's now on HBO Max. All
Okay.
5 seasons are on HBO.
Search Party.
It started on regular cable on TBS, and it looked like it might only last one season, and then at some point it migrated over to HBO, and it's very twisted. It's very funny, sometimes very dark. It has
I gotta
suspense.
watch violent.
There are moments of violence, but it's about the weird culture of like creepy celebrity and sensationalism, via the internet. And I'll just give the basic premise, which is it's these 4 millennials who are pretty shallow and pretty self-centered and pretty clueless. And they find out that, I'm not giving away a lot of suspense because this all happens in the first episode. They find out that a college classmate of theirs has disappeared. And this is someone in college who they either completely ignored or had some degree of disdain for. But as soon as they find out she's disappeared, and the police suspect she's dead, but they decide they're going to make it their mission to find her. And it's really all about them. It's really kind of all about, we're going to be famous, we're going to be heroes, we're going to be famous. It's like they're totally narcissistic instead of, altruistic. So the character examination of these 4 people is amazing. And then it gets really twisted and really dark, but it's also, just when it's getting like sort of unbearably dark, it gets really funny. And I'm approaching the end of the 3rd of the 5 seasons, and it just ended this past week.
Well, that's nice. You have 2 more seasons to go.
Yeah, although it's half hours. It's even less than half-hour episodes because it was originally made for commercial TV. So if you take out the commercial spaces, it's only about 20 minutes per episode. So it goes by really fast, and then it's very addictive. I could not, at a certain point, pretty early on, I just could not turn away. You just had to know what was going to happen next. So I've been binging pretty seriously, like multiple episodes every day. And it's real. I won't try to describe much of it because it's full of surprises and really bizarre things happen. And I think it gets even more bizarre toward the end. It's interesting. I'd heard about it for years, and I heard some people praise it for years. But one of the things that impelled me to finally dive in is a friend of mine had a small part in the series finale last,
Fun.
which aired last week. And I said, oh well, now I have to watch the whole thing, and I'm really glad I did.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
We watched a good movie tonight.
Hmm.
Was interesting. It was called Long Story Short.
Oh,
It's
I've
on.
heard about that. Yeah.
It's an interesting whirlwind of and time travel kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we watched Lilies of the Valley with Sidney Poitier.
Oh, Lilies of the Field.
Of the Field.
Right. Right.
My brain.
Yeah. That's
I was
that's
singing,
it.
I am
Yeah.
Lily of the Valley.
Right.
Um,
That's the one. Lilies of the Field is the one Sydney won the first Oscar for a black actor. Yeah.
It was wonderful. I saw it when I was really young, and I got
Mhm.
to see it again now in different eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, yeah. I mean, his God, he was so great. Um. Oh, by the way, SNL just started here, and Ariana DeVos is hosting, who's
Really?
Anita in West Side Story. So
How fun.
I
Who's
adore her.
the guest?
I don't even know. I didn't see the opening credits. So, it was going to be someone who got COVID, and instead, it is the Brooklyn band Bleachers, Jack Antonoff's band.
Hmm.
Jack
They're on.
Antonoff's. It's basically this guy Jack Antonoff. He basically is Bleachers, and whoever he plays with is. But they're really a cool kind of alt rock band, and he also he co-produced Taylor Swift's last couple of
Oh,
hugely successful albums. So
wow.
along with Aaron Dessner from the National. So yeah, I've seen Bleachers. I first saw on Letterman a bunch of years ago.
Bleachers.
Yeah.
The auto tune thing, it hurts my ears so much. I really
No,
can't
Bleachers are not
at
racist.
all.
No, they're just a little, like indie rock kind of band,
I'll check them out.
Yeah. No, the overuse of I kind of I appreciate auto tune as an effect sometimes, but people lay on it way too heavy,
Hurts
way
my.
too.
I literally get a headache from it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
pretty
frequency that really
yeah
goes in my brain, and
yeah it's pretty irritating.
yeah. So I don't listen. Bleachers. I'll listen to the Bleachers.
Yeah, they are not auto tune.
Now, are you getting snow at all?
We have gotten so little snow. We got snow last week. Uh, I'd say it was no more than 3 or 4 inches here, and it was gone the next day. It got into the 40s. So yeah, and that was the biggest storm we've had. Upstate New York has gotten hit pretty hard, but and I think we're not supposed to have any in the city this week either. They said there's going to be some snow that's a little bit farther north, but looks like we'll just get like cold rain at worst.
Cold
Because it'll be
rain.
back.
We have that kind of dirty snow right now, where
Yeah,
it's there's some snow over there and there's some here.
yeah, yeah.
Today it looked like an absolute spring day, and I'm starting to see little buds on trees, and it's freaking me out.
Hmm.
I don't want to see a bud on a tree right now.
Yeah, you just it's really the concept. It's weird that at the same time that the concept of time went out the window with the pandemic,
Mhm.
and also the concept of seasons went out the window because of global warming. I mean,
Oh,
the concept of seasons was always out the window in California, you
right.
know, but here, I really love the distinct delineation, and that didn't happen at all this
No, it didn't. And last year, I think there was maybe 3 weeks in January where it just wasn't fun.
year. Yeah, we had like three big storms in very short succession, but that was also the extent of it.
Yep.
And then it got really warm. I remember after one of the storms, it was like 50 degrees. Everything just gone.
Oh, Mike Ladon, yeah. Bill Winokur's asking if you have ever encountered the incredible Mike Ladon in New York. He plays
I
Tuesday night at Smoke.
At Smoke, I know his name, but I've never seen him.
I've seen him at Smoke.
Yeah, Oh, and Bill, I checked out the thing you posted the week before last.
Isn't that cool?
It was really wonderful. It was
Super
really,
cool.
I really dug the host. He was like really, the whole thing was really.
I want to be on that show. I loved it.
It's a cool show.
I posted it on my page too. I loved it. It was super cool.
Yeah, I'm glad there's still radio that's that way. It seems kind of rare these days.
There's a radio station here in town. Pre-COVID, I was actually talking about having a show there, which was sort of this, well, if I'm not going to be able to go there, and they haven't reopened. But it's this old, it's been there since the 40s, and WHFB.
Cool.
And they still, I love the sound of AM radio. I love that sound.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I have my little radio right here.
yeah. I mean, so much AM radio is just idiotic news. Just that call in angry people talk radio.
Love it.
No, not the angry people talk radio.
I just I'll be driving. Sometimes if I'm driving in the middle of the night somewhere, I'll listen to it and just be like, you guys, don't get so mad.
I don't know. I can't handle it. I mean, it to me, it says really bad things about the culture. I can't be amused by it anymore because that's how people get their information, and it isn't information.
I like the late night health talks.
Oh, things like that are cool. Yeah, there's little pockets of.
It makes me miss KGO, the old KGO.
The old KGO before it got insane.
Yeah. For occasionally used to. No, it's not. Sorry. As a
I think it's okay as an aesthetic effect sometimes, but it's but very small dose.
I'm a purist. Talk to me. Talk to Patty. People this is what we do as our livelihood and our living.
Oh yeah. But it's also like I'm also not a purist about effects on guitars. Like there are some people who took like jazz guitar to that extreme where it has to be totally dry. Mm-hmm. But I love people like Frizzell, and Nels Klein, and people who use the technology. And you can use auto-tune in creative ways. This is not to say that people do, or that enough people do. But, it's to me, there's.
Give me an example of someone that you think has done well with auto-tune.
Well, now I'm going to draw a blank. I've heard things,
Next week.
Yeah, I don't really follow anyone who does auto-tune, but
I know people that there was one guy on the Grammys this last year that said if it wasn't for auto-tune, I wouldn't have a career.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It makes my brain melt.
Yeah.
I'm a purist. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would love for you to show me somebody that uses it in a good way. And then what is that behind the light or next to the light? Is there something up there? Is that it? The painting that you're behind your head? Yeah.
The painting that's behind my head. Oh, that is a framed, the thing at the top right there next to the light. That's actually a framed New York Times article about my mom. The early 1980s. That was actually the first real piece of press that I think she ever got in mainstream.
Milli Vanilli wasn't auto-tuned. Milli Vanilli actually had different people singing.
Oh yeah, no, that was they were a complete fraud. Yeah. Even when they performed live, they were lip syncing to the tracks. They had no talent.
There was that night, poor thing, they were on a live music show, and that's when people started figuring it out, and the person that was singing singing for them sang wrong.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Right. Well, there was also, who was it? The woman who was the sister of someone else famous.
Well, Paula Abdul also had a ghost singer.
Not Paula Abdul. She was on SNL, and they played the wrong track. They played her first song instead of her second.
Right. Who was
that? It'll come back to me at some point. But yeah, she was She actually had, like she actually had she kind of recovered from that. She also acted, and she kind of took it in good stride.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, my sister just sent me some. I bought these. I want to get snowshoes. See, here I am ready for snow. I'm like, I'm ready. I got the coat.
Hmm.
And I have grippers, ice grippers. Do you have those grippers for your shoes?
I don't. It's never gotten bad enough here for me to really need them.
Haven't used them yet.
Yeah. Uh, what was her name? What was her name?
Yeah.
Oh, she was the sister of Jessica Simpson, Ashley Simpson.
Oh, Ashley Simpson. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. She's
yeah.
trying to claim her something's going on right now. She's been told she has perfect pitch. Yeah, I have perfect pitch, but um anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, Ashley Simpson, that's what happened to.
Right. Well, I mean,
Well, and Mariah, when she a few years ago on New Year's Eve, she kind of did something like that too.
yeah, I mean, the rash. I mean, Mariah, we obviously know can sing, and she doesn't lean on. Mariah can sing like anybody's business, but singing in Times Square on New Year's Eve was in that environment with all that noise. So that, I can understand,
He sings
Janet
crap.
Janet Jackson did lip syncing on her
Sure.
shows because she also danced so much. And you can't dance that much and sing without going, so that's understandable to some extent. I mean, people make a distinction between, I'm doing a show and I'm singing. You know, if you're doing a show that involves choreography and all that stuff, it's a little different.
I understand, Carl. But I hear it. I hear that wave, and it hurts.
Yeah, it's just yeah, I can understand that. I don't think it's all. It has to be used really, really, really sparingly, and if you can put some creative, stuff on it, so it's not just all about the effect, but it's like integrated in something bigger.
I mean, my
That's what I
friend
like.
Steve Miller, that's his whole life is making voices sound perfect.
Right.
He will never tell you exactly who he's working for, but Steve?
I know of him. Yeah.
Steve is an engineer and used to be he's big time. He needs to
Yeah.
come on the show sometime. He has more stories. He has the best stories, but I mean, he sits outside at the Grammys in another building basically and fixes stuff.
Right. Right. Well, the precursor to modern auto tune was the vocoder, and
Vocal.
Stevie Wonder used that to great effect,
Wow.
and Laurie Anderson used it to amazing effect. Where she had that voice where she sounded like the old film director John Huston. I went down to the store the other day, and it's coming out of this petite woman, and it was brilliant. That was like part of the art form. So that is something I would say. Using the effects for deliberate artistic
Laurie
distortion.
Anderson. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's she to me is like a real groundbreaker. There aren't that many artists who are that smart about it now. They just use it as a crutch.
I just messaged him to be on the show sometime.
Steve Miller.
He just said, "Not sure what you want me to talk about." He's in bed by 8:30.
Well, have him on the morning edition. Have Laurie Anderson on the show. That would be.
I would love that.
I have adored Laurie Anderson for so many years. I've had a couple of great encounters with Laurie Anderson. And this was really funny. She came and played for us. Remember BGP had the Kabuki for a
Oh
while
yeah,
in Japantown.
sure.
That was like before they got the Fillmore back. That was like their moderate sized venue, about 1,000 to 1,500 people. And I think Laurie did a couple of nights at Berkeley Community, and then she did 3 nights at the Kabuki. And this is when, like, Oh Superman had just come out, and the Mr. Heartbreak album. So she was selling out bigger places. So her doing the kabuki was a really cool thing for 3 nights. And I worked all 3 nights.
Lighting for her for a while.
Huh?
My sister did lighting for her for a while.
Well, I've always loved her lighting. She, you know, she does great things with lighting and with film effects and all kinds of things.
She's just super cool.
She's an incredible artist. But so after the third of the 3 shows, she was just kind of wandering around on the floor level of the kabuki. And I went up to talk to her. I just wanted to thank her, to tell her how much it meant to us to have her come and play our venue, and how I was kind of just being a fan. And she looked at me and she said, in the most utterly Laurie Anderson like way, she said, "Why are you so well lit?" And I just happened to be standing in a place where they had turned on these work lights right behind me. So I sort of had this Steven Spielberg halo effect over my head. And so having Laurie Anderson say,
Wow.
why are you so well lit?"
That's awesome, Gary.
that was like one of my great
Lori.
encounters. One of the great encounters of my life.
That is very cool.
Yes.
Okay, Lillian. Lillian's over here.
And speaking of people I met,
Tell me.
Ronnie Specter.
Oh,
Ronnie.
her?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, she played for us at Wolfgang's one time.
Wow.
And I also met her before that. A friend of mine played, she did a tour, or maybe just a series of concerts on the West Coast with Darlene Love and Martha Reeves.
And Annette Aguilar played drums with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my friend Jez Graham was keyboardist in that group.
Wow.
And so I met her there down in they played Long Beach, California. And then a few years later, she came up and played Wolfgang's, and she was such a sweetheart.
So cool.
She just epitomized that kind of 60s girl group, which was acceptable to say back then. Cool. Just radiant. Yeah. She had this wonderful, like no star attitude, just like sweetness. And she was still, I guess she hit when she was really young, I guess, the Ronettes, early to mid 60s. I think she was barely out of her teens. She might have still been in her teens. So by the time I encountered her, that would be like, she was somewhere maybe in her late 30s or something.
Mm-hmm.
But she still had that total Ronette vibe about it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I've watched different tributes, June Millington and a few other people that played in her bands, all posted photos of them playing with her or hanging with her backstage, and she just seemed really, really cool.
Yeah, Steve Van Zandt did this wonderful. Rolling Stone had a little interview with Steve Van Zandt called "How Ronnie Spector Saved the E Street Band," and the story behind that was it was during that period when Bruce could not record because his old manager was suing him.
Okay.
Between 1976 and 1978, Bruce was like banned from making records because there was this litigation going on for his contract, and he thought, he wasn't a megastar yet, so he thought he maybe couldn't keep the E Street Band on salary, for depending on how long this thing dragged on. A couple of guys were thinking of quitting because they had other session, they had like session possibilities or other tours to go on. And what happened was the E Street Band wound up getting hired to back Ronnie Spector on a record. And she actually recorded the Billy Joel song "Say Goodbye to Hollywood," which is kind of
Hollywood.
Yeah, and it was kind of a hit for her. Like it was kind of a real career reviver, because she had just come out of that horrible period, literally being held prisoner in Phil's house, or his psychotic husband's house.
Horrible when you read her story.
It's a nightmare, and the fact that she came back from it and had this whole second career. She made that single with Eddie Money, "Take Me Home Tonight," which is like Eddie's biggest hit.
Eddie.
So yeah, miss Eddie. Eddie was a sweet guy. But Oh, and speaking of that psychotic husband, did I ever tell you about how I saw the Ronettes open for the Beatles at Shea Stadium, except without Ronnie?
Tell it.
Yeah. The last time the Beatles toured in '66, the Ronettes were among the opening acts. Um, and they had Ronnie's almost look exactly alike cousin. Actually, Ronnie's sister, who was already in the group, stepped up and sang lead, and the cousin stepped in, and the sisters and cousins looked enough like each other. Uh, and Ronnie was not on that tour because Phil like made her stay home because he suspected she was having an affair with John Lennon,
Really?
which I don't think was true, but I think she did have one with George
Really?
Harrison. Yeah, but so Phil may not have been completely out of bounds, but he actually they just left. He was stuck in California, in Beverly Hills, while the Ronettes toured, and I guess people weren't much the wiser for it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Don't you guys
I
love Lambert?
I only found that out a few years ago. I only, having I thought, oh wow, I saw Ronnie Spector with the Ronettes back in 1966, and I said, well, I saw the Ronettes kind of, but I didn't see Ronnie Spector.
You're so cool.
Well,
I'm so glad. Got a question for you.
okay. I my intuition tells me that I have an inkling since we've already asked the what did you have for lunch question. That really only leaves
Well,
one.
I like to ask you other questions, but I like to just get inspired and just talk about stuff because I learn
Hmm.
so much instead of me asking the question. But this is a pretty, I've asked you this probably 40 plus times or so. What are you doing next Saturday night?
Well, let me check my calendar. I have to talk to my booking people and see what's
Oh, and
so
Carl Hess says when she was really having an affair with Keith Richards.
she might have. I mean, wouldn't you have an affair with anybody but Phil Spector if you had the opportunity?
I don't even know if I would want to have an affair ever again in my life. It'd be
Right. Yeah,
I
that's true.
traumatized,
The traumatizing effect.
horrible,
So next
horrible, yeah,
next
horrible.
Saturday would be and yet a complete genius and a revolutionary and someone who enriched our lives and yet a nightmare as a human being. Go figure. I mean, how important he was to how many careers and how he influenced people and influenced the way records are made, and an utter, worse than a nightmare.
Horrible.
Anyway, I see on my calendar that next Saturday is January 22nd, and I seem to have no other pressing engagements. Now, I, I don't want that applause to be premature. I haven't said yet. I just on a whim I could decide to do something else. But
I hope that
na-
you do.
but but
No?
now that you've shamed me into it, all right, I'll be on 11:11 with Jenna.
Okay. All right. Well, now you get a standing
You
ovation.
you knew I was gonna be.
And and I know that, things are, people are starting to do whatever they're doing. Me, good night, everyone. Bye, Patty Loman. I love
Good
you.
night, gang. Night,
On
everyone.
March 24th, put that. Oh, wow. Michael Pelt's cousin represented the Ronettes against the ripoff.
Oh wow. Oh, there was not just the Ronettes touring without Ronnie, but an actual fake Ronettes was out there.
I don't know. I don't know this story.
Well,
Michael Phelps might
that
have to
wouldn't
come on.
that's been pretty common in the music business. Your fake version of a band. The Coasters had all kinds of fake coasters out there.
March 24th. Put that on your calendar now, please. All of
March
you.
24th.
So many dates. Save the dates. March 24th, May 24th. Okay, Carl. Cool. I need to read that book. I've never read Keith Richards' book.
It's very good. It's very good. I mean, Keith has always been a great storyteller.
He's
He's
so
very he's very funny.
So cool.
And then he's great in interviews too, you know, not just the writing of the book. Do you know the story of Satisfaction?
Alice.
Keith used to keep a guitar he had like one of the first Philips consumer home cassette recorders.
Okay.
Like they gave when Philips first came out with that technology, they gave recorders to certain famous people, and Keith had one of the very first ones. And he kept the guitar and the cassette recorder by his bed, just in case he dreamed a great song.
Okay.
He'd wake up in the middle of the night and play it. And he said, I would do this, and they were all rubbish. They were all absolute rubbish. And then one night I recorded this thing, and and then I'd had a bit to drink, and I fell asleep, and I forgot to turn off the record button.
Oh.
So when I wake up, it's at the end of the tape, and there's about 90 minutes of me snoring. And I say, oh, what a bloody waste. And so let me just rewind and see how long I was snoring. And he gets back to the start of the tape, and he hears that.
He sings it?
No, he played it on the guitar
Oh, wow.
into the cassette recorder, and then fell asleep.
Wow.
Had no memory of it, but just that moment. And you know, he thought he thought he was being an idiot just for doing that because he never came up with anything good. And in this half passed out state, he came up with that.
I did not know that.
Yes, it's a beautiful story.
Oh, now 13 of us know this.
Yes, I actually heard him tell that story on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and he told it so engagingly and so hilariously. And I just said, this is one of the best stories.
That's truly one of the coolest stories ever. Oh, Keith's documentary is on, yeah, okay, it's on Netflix.
The documentary is very good too. Yeah. Yeah, he's a totally disarmingly engaging, you know, individual. Despite, you know, his reputation is so debauched and so, you know.
He was at a benefit that I was a part of in New Orleans, I don't know, right after Katrina, like the next Jazz Fest. And, you know, he was hanging out with, like everybody else was just hanging out backstage kind of thing. He wasn't all, you know, ooh, don't look at Keith, don't talk to Keith.
Right. No, yeah, not at all. People, almost everyone I know who's had any dealings in that particular world has nothing but good to say about Keith and Charlie. Charlie was a total sweetheart.
Oh, I loved Charlie.
Not so crazy about Mick. Mick apparently has no discernible personality outside of being on stage. You know, he's very jaded. You know, he's like he's like people who know him don't really seem to know him. You know, he's just one of those people that just
he's all about what he does.
He's all about being Mick, yeah. And he's good at it. So, he's pretty good at being Mick.
Oh, that's interesting, Carl. Yeah, I would love to read the book. I'm going to borrow Carl's book. Cool, Carl. I'll get to see you then.
Good.
So tomorrow morning, my friend Leanne's going to be here. She's a nurse. She's
right.
been a nurse for 36 years.
That's incredible. What? I mean, this is like the most intense, weirdest, scariest time ever to be a nurse.
Yeah. So she's taking the time tomorrow to hang out with us and answer questions. And then tomorrow night's Poetry Glam. I'd love for you to join us on Poetry Glam sometime, Gary. I would love to hear you read a poem. I'm sure you have some favorites.
Oh, like someone else's poem, not trying to write one myself. Yeah, I could do that. I've got some favorites.
Have you written a poem?
Nothing for that I would inflict on anyone else.
Okay. Yes, to read it sometime. That would be wonderful. I have to find a poem for tomorrow night. I usually think of a topic and then I look for it
Hmm.
because all my books right now, I'm putting shelves up in my other room, so everything's in disarray at the moment. It's
Yeah,
an array of disarray.
I'm in a continuous state of disarray here, of course, because of all the stuff I'm doing with the house. But
Are you going through things? Are you
oh
taking a
God,
break? Are
yeah,
you?
yeah. Oh, I have to take a break. It's too daunting to take on for very long at any given time. But I completely cleaned out a couple of cabinets that were full of stuff that either has to be boxed up to keep or get tossed or get donated. And so I had some accomplishments this week.
Good. Cleaning
And
out a cupboard is a big thing.
yes, and of course, eating deep dish Chicago pizza is an accomplishment too.
Huge.
And
So you
I
have
I
two and a half
ate,
left?
I have two whole ones left. I ate a half one last night and the other half today. So now I have the pepperoni and the spinach to look forward
Did you read
to.
what Bill Baker says?
Um, I where did I put your
He
Facebook?
wants you to write your parents' story.
Oh, I think it's been written, it's been written really well in little bits and pieces elsewhere. Um, one day I'd like to, maybe, I don't know. What I'd like to do, my mom wrote a short memoir for the Holocaust Museum.
Really?
And my brother and I have talked on occasion about fleshing that out, like telling the rest of her story, and other elements of it. Maybe we'll get around to it sometime. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much for being here again tonight.
Well, it's one of the best parts of my week.
Mine too, for sure.
It's in this time where we don't have that much reliable stuff to look forward to in a given week. Well, you have something to look forward to twice a day, every day,
I do.
in this forum. But for me, like, getting close to 11 o'clock on Saturday, I know where I'm going to be. I have this like little island of stability and reassurance and one of my best friends. So,
Yeah.
what more could I ask for?
Thank you, Gary.
I adore
Oh,
you.
I adore you too. My mom would love to hear your mom. I love both of your parents' stories. That's the thing, the
Yeah. Yeah.
perspective, the story of coming from you about your parents and in a timeline of where you were and when things were discovered is its own story.
Yeah. And my dad's story is like, obviously it
Thank you.
was, my dad's story was less publicity friendly, because it didn't happen in public. But having this medical practice in the same little part of Queens for 50 years and becoming this utterly integral part of that community and this beloved figure, it's as amazing as my mom's story in its own way. So yeah, his story is beautiful as well and
Well,
tragic and all
yeah.
that.
If I'm just putting this out there as a thought, but
Hmm.
on March 24th,
Yes,
if you're available,
yes,
perhaps there could be an hour where you could tell your parents' story.
I would happily do that.
Okay. Wait, standing ovation again, right here. So we have, that's for sure, that's happening. Oh, cool. Thank you, Gary.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jenna.
This has been such a gift, man.
Yeah, you need a letter?
I need a letter.
I guess it'll be D for deep dish.
D, 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 golly, D, a melody and a melody, D, 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 for a deep dish, pizza from Chicago over there. And I gotta say, hey, I swear I'm so happy that all of you are here tonight. Oh yes, Dee Dee, I gotta go, Dee Dee, I gotta sing, Dee Dee. And where do you go from here? Well, first I'll say thank you, Gary Lambert, for your time and your dedication to 11:11 with Jenna. 11:11 with Jenna. 11:11 with Jenna and Gary Lambert. Darn, 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 I gotta take Lillian out one more time tonight. Darn, 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 I'm so happy to see you all here after midnight. It's the morning time. So all of you, let me sing and I'll rhyme. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be real nice. And Gary Lambert, I will see you back here next one more Saturday night with Gary Lambert. So my friends, have daring thoughts and delightful words and a dear, dear Gary Lambert kind of heart.
That was delicious.
And delightful at the same time. Love hard, brother.
Real hard. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Gary. Tomorrow morning, Leanne, right here. Leanne, right here. Nurse, Leanne, right here.